The story of redemption would be incomplete without reference to the judgment of the wicked. God is glorified both in the commendation of righteousness and the condemnation of sin. He would not agree with this society that there must be no losers, that all must be winners, that all lifestyles are equal. The winners will be those who believed and practiced the gospel, that Jesus died for their sins and rose for their justification. They repented and received the gift of forgiveness freely. These are the winners. The losers will be the ones who spurned the gift of God in his Son. Some of them lived a life of outright wickedness, but others were respectable people who thought their lives were good enough for God to accept them as they were. They shall be the most disappointed. All their acts of righteousness and respectability will be seen to be worthless rags before the holiness of God. Isaiah chapter 64, verse 6. We have now arrived at a peculiar little constellation called Ara, meaning altar. It represents the consuming fire prepared for the enemies of God. The altar is close by Sagittarius and Scorpio. Remember, Sagittarius is firing his arrow into the heart of the scorpion. Now it's significantly upside down, with its fires burning and pointing downwards towards the abyss. When the constellations were first formed by God, the altar was visible only on the very lowest horizon in the south, pointing to the completion of all judgment in the lake of fire. In the ancient zodiac of Dendera, the picture is very different, but teaches the exact same truth. It shows a man with a flail in his hand, and a flail is used to beat the grain until valuable seed is separated from the worthless chaff. There's a special prayer within Judaism that praises God as the one who separates between light and darkness, good and evil, because without separation there could be no life. Everything would die. Now the man with the flail is called Baal, and that's the same name as Hercules, you'll remember, meaning he cometh. And this derives from the Hebrew bo, to come. Scripture has a dreadful picture of a man who comes, bo, from Edom to the southeast of Israel at the end of the 7-year tribulation, Isaiah chapter 63. He wears garments stained with the blood of his adversaries, the ones who hate his coming and do all they can to obstruct it, but to no avail. The rest of the passage in Isaiah 63 explains the reason for his coming to judge. I have trodden the winepress alone, and from the peoples no one was with me. For I have trodden them in my anger and trampled them in my fury. Their blood is sprinkled upon my garments, and I have stained all my robes, for the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed has come. I looked, but there was no one to help, and I wondered that there was no one to uphold. Therefore my own arm brought salvation for me, and my own fury, it sustained me. I have trodden down the peoples in my anger, made them drunk in my fury, and brought down their strength to the earth. Now, will God compromise with sin because it's the 21st century? Never in a million years. God is not man that he should lie, or a son of man that he should change his mind. Has he said, and will he not do it? Or has he spoken, and will he not fulfill it? Numbers 23, verse 19. And if anyone should object that this is the Old Testament, and that the New is different, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Hebrews 13:8. Man changes, God doesn't. And so we have this inverted altar with its consuming fire, or alternatively the man with the flail. Both teach the same truth. In Arabic, this constellation is called Al-Mugamra, which means the completing or finishing. We call it the altar or Ara. This latter name was used by the Greeks in the sense of praying, but more frequently in the sense of imprecation or cursing. This, then, is the fulfillment of the curse pronounced against the great enemy. This is the burning fire pointing to the completion of that curse, when he shall be cast into that everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels. Matthew 25, verse 41. There is the allusion to this in the midst of the very scripture from which we quoted in the previous video, Psalm 21.
Thou shalt make them as a fiery oven in the time of thine anger. The Lord shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them. The final constellation in Book 1, Draco, will continue to develop this theme.